Welcome to Honeybee Yoga Studio, where we create yoga classes aimed at yogis of all levels. We release new videos every week, so if that sounds like your thing, please consider subscribing by hitting the red button below. Well, hi yogis, and thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to enjoy a super slow and deep stretch. If you are active and you're looking for something to do on your rest day, you've come to the right place. We aren't even going to break a sweat, I promise. At the end of this, we're just going to feel super spacious, super stretched out, and fantastic. So to get started, let's come to our spines. Our legs will be long and heavy in the earth. Our arms by our sides, palms open to the ceiling. And we'll take a couple breaths to come into this moment, come into this space. Feel your breath as it ebbs and flows. Feel your chest expand, your belly inflate on the inhale, and then release, relax as your breath escapes on the exhale. As our bodies become still, we're encouraging our minds to stay connected to our breath. And as we invite movement into our bodies, we'll encourage our movement to be guided by our breath, moving as slow or as energetically as your body requires. Let's purposefully take our next two breaths as deep, as full, as controlled as we can by slowly inhaling, inflating our lungs, our belly, holding that fullness for just a pause before we release the exhale, slow and controlled. Let's do that one more time. Big inhale. Feel that breath travel all the way to your fingertips, your toes, before slow and controlled exhale. We'll start to invite movement into our bodies by wiggling our fingertips, our toes, rotating our ankles and our wrists. And when we're ready, let's bring those knees up into our belly. Give ourselves a big hug, gentle rock side to side. Let's let that right foot come into the earth. Keep that knee bent. And let's really hug that left knee. Feel that thigh press into our abdomen. Maybe a gentle rock side to side. And we can keep that right knee bent, or if it feels okay for us, let's extend that right leg long, heel in the earth. We'll take our right hand to the top of our right hip. Let's start to open that left knee to the left side with the support of our left hand and arm. Maybe that left elbow comes into the earth, kind of like a kickstand. Keeping that right hip in the earth, maybe pressing down with that right hand. We can keep that left knee bent, or maybe extend through our left leg, pressing our left heel away from our body. Let's take two big breaths here. If we've extended that leg, we'll bring a bend back into the knee and bring that knee to come atop its left hip. We'll bring our left arm wide to our left side. Let's take that right hand and we're going to start to guide our left knee all the way over to the right side. That left hip may lift from the earth, and that's totally fine so long as it feels okay. Supporting a rotation through our spine, that gaze may come to our left hand. And we'll settle here for a couple breaths. We'll start to feel that left hip coming back into the earth. Let's hug that left knee back into our belly. We'll bring a bend back into our right knee. Right sole of the foot comes into the earth. And we'll gently place that left ankle to come just below our right knee. We'll take our left hand, press that left knee away. And we'll start to settle into our version of reclined pigeon. So we can stay right here. We can lift those hands to clasp around our right thigh, pulling our legs in towards our belly, keeping both of our feet flexed, maybe lengthening that right leg. As always, we're listening to our body and doing what feels good for us today. And it might be different than what would feel good yesterday or feels good tomorrow. Just enjoying where our body is today. Using our next exhale, we'll release that right foot back to the earth, followed by its left partner. Let's windshield wiper those knees side to side. Slowly lifting our knees up to the sky and then letting them release to one side. And then to the opposite. Eventually those knees will find stillness and our right knee will hug in towards our belly. Once again, taking any wiggles, any little rotations from side to side. Give that lower abdomen a little massage with that right thigh. And then if it's for us, we'll extend that left leg long, left heel in the earth. Left hand to the top of that left hip, and let's open our right knee to the right side. This time that right elbow may come into the earth to support that right knee, and maybe we extend our right leg long. Once again, settling for a couple breaths. We'll start to bring that bend back into our right knee if we've extended. Bringing that right knee above our right hip, we'll extend our right arm long to the right side. Let's take that left hand, bring it to the outside of that right knee, and we'll start to guide our right knee to the left side. Once again, that right hip may lift, and so long as that feels good for you. Supporting that rotation through our spine, we'll bring our gaze towards our right hand. And we'll rest here for a couple breaths. We'll eventually feel that right hip make its way back into the mat. Hugging that right knee into our chest one more time. Let's bring that bend back into our left knee. Left foot comes into the earth. And we'll bring that right ankle to come just below our left knee. Coming into reclined pigeon on this side, we can take that right hand, press that right knee away. Maybe clasp those hands behind our left thigh, pulling our legs into our belly. Keeping those feet flexed, toes pulling towards our shins. Maybe extending that left leg. And as we move from side to side, maybe taking note of any differences you feel from one side to the other. Just building our body awareness, our mind to muscle connection. One final breath here before we release our left foot back into the earth, followed by our right. We'll let our knees fall to our favorite side. We'll tuck into a ball on that side, lengthen our upper arm so we can lift through a seated posture, and we'll find ourselves coming to tabletop. We'll feel those knees underneath our hips, our hands underneath our shoulders, top of our feet press into the earth. And let's move through a few rounds of cat-cow breath. So as we inhale, that belly button dips, our spine smiles as our gaze comes up towards the ceiling, our happy little cow. And then as we exhale, that gaze comes towards our knees, pressing through our hands, our spine, and our belly button frowns as it reaches towards the ceiling. Letting your breath guide your movement, we'll move through for a few breaths. If your cat or your cow is feeling extra good today, maybe we hang out for more than just a breath. Taking whatever movements our body's asking for. And then eventually, as that spine gets nice and warm, we'll start to take some circles with our hips. Moving in one direction, and then moving in the opposite direction. We'll come to stillness and make sure those hands are planted into the earth, fingertips spread wide. Let's tuck those toes behind us, lift our knees off of the earth, send our hips behind us, heels towards the earth, and come into our version of downwards facing dog. Now this is a generous hamstring stretch, so let's take a few breaths here to connect in our dogs. Maybe pressing one heel towards the earth while the opposite knee bends. Kind of like we're walking our dogs. Take any movements here that feel good for your body, so long as we take those movements to the opposite direction or to the opposite leg. Let's let those feet step a little bit closer up to our hands. Let them come as wide as our mats. We're going to continue to press through our hands, our hips move behind us, and let's reach that right hand towards our left shin. Let's take a big inhale. Release that right hand back to the earth, and we'll stretch that left hand towards our right shin. Another big breath here before releasing that left hand back to the earth. Let's step that right heel high up into the sky. Big inhale as that right heel lifts and stretches away. Then let's step that right foot all the way up to the front of our mat. Let that left knee come to the earth. Let's lift our torsos so our hands come up to our right thigh. We want to feel stability through that back left knee, through our front right heel. Strong legs so that our hips can feel nice and soft and gently sink forward. We can keep our hands by our side or on our hips. Or if we'd like to open through our shoulder blades and our triceps, let's reach both hands forward, palms to the sky. Bending into our elbows. We'll tuck that left elbow underneath our right, wrapping through our forearms. Maybe our hands come to connect. Feel those elbows pulling away from your shoulders, those shoulder blades open. And whether or not we've bound through our hands, let's feel those elbows lift, those fingertips lift. And sink forward into those hips. Let's take a couple breaths here, inviting space through those shoulders and hips. And then eventually, let's release those arms wide, give them a wiggle, bring them towards our hips. And let's lift those right toes, lengthen that right leg long. We're going to keep that left hip atop our left knee. Our tailbone will pull behind us, and as we exhale, we'll start to fold forward. That right foot, crown of our head, reaching to the front of the room. Our hands can come to the inside of that right foot. Alternatively, you can bring them to your shin, your thigh, or keep them at your hips. Another generous hamstring stretch. We'll take a few breaths here. Again, we want to feel like our tailbone is pulling behind us as the crown of our head and that right heel pulls in front of us. Feeling length through our spine, through that right hamstring. One of our next exhales, we'll bring a bend back into that right knee. Right sole of the foot comes back into the earth. Hands plant in the earth. Let's tuck those back left toes so we can lift our left leg off of the earth. And we're going to step that right foot back into three-legged downwards facing dog. So we're really reaching that right heel behind us. But let's take a bend into that right knee. Pulling that right heel towards our left bum cheeker. That right knee is opening up to the sky. Keeping that knee bent, we're going to pull that right knee forward to come behind our right hand. That right foot comes to rest somewhere behind our left hand. We have our long left leg behind us, and we come to settle in our version of pigeon. We feel the majority of our weight coming onto the outside of that right shin, our back left thigh, and that right hip stays lifted. Let's walk our hands towards our body, feel that strong foundation. Inhale our fingertips tall, and then we'll exhale to fold forward. Our hands can stay pressing into the earth with long arms. We can come onto forearms. We can bring our hands to stack, our fists to stack, and bring our chin or our forehead to the earth. We're going to hang out in our version of sleeping pigeon for at least 4 long breaths. Start to feel those hands come back in the earth so we can lengthen our arms, lifting tall. We'll tuck those back left toes so we can lift our left leg. Let's step that right foot back and meet in our downwards facing dog. Take any shimmies, any shakes that your body needs. And then let's lift our left heel high up to the sky. Big stretch before stepping that left foot all the way forward. Right knee comes into the earth, and we lift into our low lunge. We can keep our hands by our sides on that front left thigh. Or let's reach both hands forward, palms to the sky in service. Bending into our elbows, we'll reach that right arm underneath our left. Maybe our hands come to touch. Wherever we are, we're staying strong through that back right knee, our front left heel, letting our hips sink forward. Our elbows are pulling away from our shoulders, lifting up towards the sky. We'll take a few breaths here. On our next exhale, let's release those arms wide. Give them a big wiggle. And we'll start to lengthen that left leg, lifting our left toes. Hands come to our hips. And coming into our half splits pose, we'll start to fold at our hips. That tailbone reaches behind us, crown of our head reaches forward, our hands coming to rest on our thigh, our shin, or the earth beside our left foot. Those left toes continue to lift towards the sky, and we have a very generous stretch from our left heel all the way to our tailbone, and from our tailbone extending all the way through the crown of our head. Let's stay here for a couple more breaths. One of our next exhales, we start to bend back into that left knee. Left sole of our foot comes back into the earth. Press those hands in the earth, tuck that right toes so we can lift our right leg long and step our left foot back into our three-legged downwards facing dog. Let's bend at our knee, that left heel pulling towards our right bum cheeker. That left knee really opens up to the sky. Big inhale here. And as we exhale, we'll start to shift forward, keeping that bend in our left knee. That left knee comes behind our left hand, left foot somewhere behind our right hand. We'll keep that right leg long behind us as we settle into our pigeon on the opposite side. So this time feeling the majority of the weight on that right thigh, outside of our left shin, left calf, and that left hip stays lifted off of the earth. Walking our hands back towards our foundation, we'll inhale our fingertips to the sky, and when we're ready, we'll start to melt forward into our version of sleeping pigeon. And remembering whatever version you took on the opposite side, maybe feels a little different on this side, and being mindful if we have any tension or tightness. If there's ever any pinching, we know that's a bad sign. So maybe we lengthen those arms and lift our torsos and give our body a bit more space. Really, at the end of the day, we just want to feel fantastic. Once again, we'll hang out in our pigeon for at least 4 long, slow breaths. Trying to keep our mind in this moment, in this space, keeping that mind to body connection, awareness through our breath. Let's start to feel those hands come into the earth, lifting our torso. And this time, we're gonna shift those hips behind us, coming on to that left bum cheeker. We're gonna shift so that our tailbone comes into the earth. Both of our legs extend wide. and we meet in a wide-legged seated straddle. We're going to try to keep our toes lifting up towards the sky. Let's take a big inhale, fingertips reach tall. Let's bring our gaze to that left foot. Our shoulders, our belly button points to our left foot. And as we exhale, we'll fold over that long left leg. Hands coming to rest on our leg, the earth. We'll take a few breaths, and with each inhale, feel that crown of your head reach a little bit further. And as you exhale, see if you can melt a little bit closer to your leg. Let's start to walk those fingertips towards center line, coming into a forward fold. You can press those arms long if that feels better for you. Come down onto forearms or walk your fingertips away. Again, whatever feels best for your body, and let's melt into our forward folding, wide-legged straddle. Again, keeping those toes reaching to the ceiling. Let's take 2 more breaths here, and if we can, let's see if our tailbone can just gently lift so that our pelvis tilts forward and we open a little bit more through our inner thighs, through our groin. Start to lengthen our arms. If we're close to the earth, walk those hands back so we can come tall. Let's inhale our fingertips back up to the sky. We'll bring our gaze, our belly button, our shoulders facing our right foot this time, and then melt forward. Once again, we'll hang out here for a couple breaths. Feeling that crown of our head pull towards our toes as we inhale. And our belly button and our chest get a little bit closer to our right leg as we exhale. This time we'll start to walk those hands back towards our seat. We'll come back up to a tall seated posture. Let's bring those legs long in front of us. We're going to first bend into our right knee, bring that right shin to start to parallel the front of your mat, right toes point forward. Then let's bring that left leg to stack on top of our right leg. Again, trying to get that left shin to parallel the front of your mat, left toes point forward. You can see I have a pretty big space between my knee and my foot. That's just what my version of fire log looks like. Your version could look different, as long as we feel that generous opening through the outsides of our thighs. We can stay right here, keeping our hands on our foot and our knee. Or let's get one last arm opening in by reaching our fingertips tall. Let's bring that right hand to come by our low spine. Bring that left hand to the nape of our neck. And let's start to shimmy those fingertips towards each other. If we make the bind, awesome. If not, still awesome. We can even use our shirt to grab a hold to get a little bit of leverage. Wherever we are, let's feel that left elbow lift towards the sky as our right elbow pulls behind us. We have a big open chest, and you can stay lifted, or if it's for you, we can fold forward. This is a pretty intense stretch, so we're going to take just 2 breaths here. Long breaths, slow and controlled. And then let's lift that torso. Let's release our hands. Release our legs as well. Let's bring our soles of the feet into the earth. Let's bring those hands behind us. Press those arms long. Lift our chest. And maybe let our knees windshield wiper side to side. We're going to come to the opposite configuration. So this time I'm going to bring my left leg down first. Toes reaching forward, shin parallels the front of the mat, following with my right leg. Feel my tailbone pressing into the earth, shoulders lift, hanging out here, or maybe reaching our fingertips up to the sky. This time that left hand comes to our low spine, right hand comes to the nape of our neck, and maybe we shimmy our fingertips towards each other, maybe making the bind. Wherever we are, this time our left elbow pulls behind as our right elbow lifts and reaches. Feeling lots of space through our chest. And we can stay here for a couple breaths, or maybe gently fold forward. Let's take one last breath, and as we exhale, we'll lift, release our arms, and one more time, we'll bring our hands behind our hips, long arms, feet come into the earth. Let's take a gentle windshield wiper side to side. And then this time, let's bring the soles of our feet together, knees splay wide. And we'll finish our practice with this final seated posture. In our version of butterfly or cobbler, we want to keep a long spine. Our knees are splayed beside us. Maybe our hands are holding onto our feet. Maybe they're laying heavy on our knees. Let's start to reconnect with our breath. Enjoying stillness for 2 more breaths here. Let's take those fingertips by our sides. Let's take a big inhale, sweeping our fingertips up to the sky. And then exhale, letting them fall back towards the earth. Let's do that one more time. Big inhale, reach those fingertips tall. This time our gaze comes up to our hands as they meet in prayer. And then our hands melt all the way down towards our heart. We'll take a big inhale for ourselves and for our practice, and let that exhale release. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you feel all stretched out, loosey-goosey, ready to enjoy the rest of a restful, peaceful day. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a comment below, hit the thumbs up button, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.